Sarah had always prided herself on being a good parent. She tried to provide for her children, make sure they had what they needed, and ensure they were raised with values. But, like many parents, she found herself overwhelmed by the demands of life: work, chores, managing the household, and trying to balance everything that came with raising two young children. There were days when she was short-tempered, when she didn't have the patience to deal with their endless questions or their small, insignificant problems. And there were times when she would scold them more harshly than she should have, just because she was tired. One morning, while she was scrolling through her phone, Sarah came across a message from her close friend, Emma. The message read, "Every parent should watch this video. If you love your child, you need to see this." At first, Sarah felt a sense of reluctance. Another parenting video? She had seen plenty before, most of them promising to change her life with a few simple tips or tricks on how to handle her kids better. Yet, something about Emma's message made her click on the link. She wasn't sure why, but her curiosity got the better of her. The video began with an image of a young boy, around 6 or 7 years old, struggling to ride his bicycle. It was clear he wasn't very good at it yet, but he kept trying. He wobbled, lost his balance, and fell to the ground with a loud thud. As he picked himself up, dusting himself off, Sarah noticed the expressions of the parents in the background. They didn't seem concerned. They didn't rush over to help him, nor did they offer any words of encouragement. Instead, they stood with arms crossed, watching from a distance with impatience. There was no sign of warmth or love in their expressions, just frustration. The boy tried again, and again he fell. Each time, his body seemed to get a little weaker, and his spirit a little more defeated. He looked up at his parents for help, for some kind of support, but there was nothing. No reassurance, no encouragement. His eyes seemed to ask, "Why won't you help me?" But his parents were too absorbed in their own frustration to notice. Sarah's heart sank as she watched. She wanted to reach through the screen and tell the parents to go to their child, to help him, to tell him that it was okay to fall, that failure wasn't the end. But instead, the video took an unexpected turn. A stranger, someone walking by, noticed the boy struggling. Without saying a word, the stranger crouched down beside the boy, looked him in the eye, and offered a hand. The boy looked up, surprised, and the stranger smiled warmly. "You can do this," the stranger said. "I believe in you. Keep trying and you'll get it." With that simple gesture, the boy's face lit up. He took the stranger's hand and stood tall. The stranger didn't rush him, but simply gave him the confidence he needed. The boy got back on his bike, this time with renewed determination. He tried again, slowly but surely, and before long, he was riding the bicycle with confidence, smiling with pride. As the video ended, a message appeared on the screen. Children don't just need guidance. They need encouragement. They need to know they are loved and supported. Without that, they will never reach their full potential. Sarah sat there, frozen, staring at the screen. Tears welled up in her eyes. It wasn't just a video about learning how to ride a bike. It was a powerful message about the importance of emotional support, the need for parents to show up for their children, not just physically, but emotionally. In that moment, Sarah realized just how much her own children had been yearning for her encouragement. How many times had they tried something new, only to be met with her frustration or her distracted attention? How often had they looked to her, hoping for reassurance, but instead felt like a burden? She thought about the countless times she had been too busy, too focused on tasks or her own struggles, to give her children the attention they truly needed. How many moments had passed where they needed her encouragement, her belief in them? How often had she brushed off their concerns or dismissed their failures, not realizing how much that lack of support affected their self-esteem? The message of the video stayed with Sarah long after it ended. She couldn't shake the image of the boy, looking up at his parents, feeling lost, only to find comfort in the kindness of a stranger. It made her reflect deeply on her own parenting. She didn't want to be the parent who stood on the sidelines, watching her children struggle without offering a hand. She didn't want to be the parent who, out of frustration or exhaustion, failed to notice when her children needed her most. Sarah decided that she needed to make a change. She knew she wouldn't always be perfect. There would still be days when life felt overwhelming, and she would make mistakes. But she promised herself that she would try harder to be present for her children, to offer them the encouragement they needed, and to remind them every day that they were loved and valued. She wanted them to grow up knowing that no matter how many times they fell, she would always be there to help them back up. That evening, Sarah sat down with her children and watched them as they played. When her youngest daughter tried to build a tower with blocks, and it kept tumbling down, Sarah didn't react with frustration. Instead, she smiled and said, "It's okay, honey. You're doing great. Let's try again together." She watched as her daughter's face lit up, her confidence growing with every word of support. And for the first time in a long while, Sarah felt a deep sense of pride. Not in her children's achievements, but in the way she was showing up for them, in the way she was teaching them that failure wasn't something to fear. It was just another opportunity to grow. Sarah shared the video with her husband, explaining how it had made her realize something important about their parenting. Together, they talked about how they could be more supportive, more encouraging, and more present in their children's lives. They made a commitment to each other to prioritize their children's emotional needs and to make sure they always felt loved, no matter what. In the weeks that followed, Sarah noticed a change in her children. They seemed more confident, more willing to try new things, and less afraid of failure. And it wasn't just because of their accomplishments. It was because they knew that no matter what, their parents had their backs. They knew they were loved. The video had changed Sarah's perspective, and it changed the way she approached parenting. She realized that, as parents, their job wasn't just to discipline or teach. It was to encourage, to empower, and to remind their children that they were worthy of love, no matter what mistakes they made along the way. And that, she realized, was the most important lesson of all.